Hello everyone, and welcome to Jaden's Guide to 5-Star Reads. You are listening to Episode 1, Hidden Pages, the silenced voices beyond your feed. April's theme is social media's impact on bookish spaces. As we all know, social media has played a vital role in the marketing, publishing, and overall sales of books in today's society. Sites like TikTok and Instagram have bookish communities that can make or break an author's success. There are many highs and lows to having bookish spaces on social media, but something I can't get past is that the same type of faces and voices are still being hidden. Do you ever notice that when you're scrolling down your For You page, you never see any new faces? You keep scrolling down your For You page and you see a Fourth Wing recommendation, and then you see an ACOTAR recommendation. And then it's the same thing over and over again. You see a Powerless recommendation. You never see particular faces among these recommendations. Too often, we have seen the Book Talk platform fail to represent a diverse range of voices. If you notice that the faces that you see on your For You page are never diverse, maybe it's time to stop relying on your For You page and start seeking out books that will diversify your reading experience. So here are 3 book recommendations to diversify your shelves. The first recommendation I have for you today is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan is a contemporary romance novel that explores love, loss, and healing. The story follows Yasmin and Josiah, a married couple who have been through immense challenges and despite their deep love for each other, have decided to divorce. The book starts with them navigating life after their separation, where their emotional connection is still strong, but the pain and hurt from their past has caused a rift between them. While dealing with their conflicted emotions, they have to come together as a united front to care for their children. Before I Let Go is an emotional and heartfelt story that anyone can connect to, which is why I recommend it to everyone. I read Before I Let Go back in summer 2023 while I was on the beach, and it was such a different story than what I was used to. Back in the summer 2023 was when I just started getting back into reading, so this book was in the first batch of books I had just started reading, and it instantly became my favorite book. And I remember at the time being kind of surprised that I enjoyed the book, not because I didn't think it would be interesting, but because normally I liked the fluffy romances, nothing too deep, they're fluffy, light, romantic. But I realized it's the romances with real things, real traumatic experiences, romances that go into deep topics that really show you how true love is. To come back from what some of these characters have gone through and still find a way to love themselves, I think it gives a whole new meaning to the word love. I gave Before I Let Go 5 stars, and I absolutely do not regret it. Often I find myself rating a book, and then maybe like a year later, my perspective has changed, or I've read more books, and sometimes my rating will change. But this book, my rating will never change. It is still my favorite romance book to this day. So I recommend this romance book to anyone. Even if you think this normally wouldn't be the type of romance book you read either, I promise you that you will love it just as much as I did. And maybe cry just as much as I did reading it. The next recommendation I have for you guys is one of my favorite series of all time, and that is the Legendborn cycle. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of this series, and if you haven't, you've been living under a rock. Or maybe your feed just isn't diverse. But trust me, you are going to want to read this series. Legendborn by Tracy Deonn is a young adult fantasy novel that blends modern-day life with Arthurian legend. I don't know about you, but while I was growing up as a kid, I was obsessed with all things Arthurian legend. I got hooked on the Merlin trope and then got crushed when it ended the way it did. But back to what I was saying, it follows Brie Matthew, a 16-year-old high school student who experiences the traumatic death of her mother while attending a program for academically gifted students at the University of North Carolina. Brie discovers that there is a hidden world of magic, secret societies, and powerful sorcerers known as the Legendborn, who descend from the Knights of the Round Table. Rhea is drawn into this world after she witnesses a magical battle and learns that she has abilities of her own. She also uncovers secrets about her mother's death, which seems connected to the Legendborn secret society. As Rhea navigates this complex world of magic, betrayal, and personal growth, she grapples with themes of grief, identity, and power. If any of that sounds interesting to you, I would suggest you read it. Like I said, one of my favorite series of all time. And I feel like this book specifically hits so close to home because the fact that this book is not given the same treatment as Fourth Wing literally shatters my heart, because this book is 10 times better than Fourth Wing. And that's coming from someone who loved Fourth Wing. That's coming from someone who rated Fourth Wing 5 stars. But Legendborn was just better. It was just better in every way. The story was so well thought out, so unique. One of the biggest things about book talk is people say that every plot is recycled and reused. Well, with Legendborn, you're gonna get a completely unique and brand new story. So why not read it? I'm sure some of you have heard about the controversy, but lately there's been a bit of an uproar in the bookish community because book rollouts by BIPOC authors aren't treated nearly the same as white authors are. For months, the Fourth Wing flyer was hanging in the window of Barnes & Noble, but we got no flyer, no nothing on Legendborn release day. I walk into the store and I have to walk all the way to the back for a copy. And there's only 4 copies when I get there. Mind you, I was there at 11 a.m. So this was pretty early in the day. Then the last straw was they finally did give Legendborn a table at the front a week after its release. There was a whole midnight party for Fourth Wing release, for Sunrise and the Weeping release. But when it comes to books like Legendborn by BIPOC authors, they're not treated nearly the same. And, people like to write off as, oh, well, Legendborn isn't a popular series. Legendborn is an extremely popular series. And if you've never heard of it, you need to diversify your feed. I first read Legendborn around this time last year, and I had been in a really bad reading slump that whole beginning of the year, just like I am in right now. And Legendborn completely rocked my world. It brought me out of a reading slump just to put me right back in one. It was phenomenal. When I tell you, I cried tears of joy because of how good it was. I rated Legendborn 5 stars. If I could, I'd rate it 6. But it is truly one of the best series I've ever read, and I think everyone should give it a try. So be sure to check out Legendborn by Tracy Dion. The last and final recommendation is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I pray that I'm not pronouncing her name wrong, but if I am, please feel free to let me know. An Ember in the Ashes is a young adult fantasy novel set in a brutal, ancient-inspired empire. It follows 2 main characters, Leia, a young woman who becomes a slave to rescue her imprisoned brother, and Elias, a soldier who is torn between his loyalty to the Empire and his desire to escape it. The story explores themes of survival, rebellion, and the struggle for freedom as both characters navigate a harsh world filled with danger, intrigue, and moral dilemmas. I read An Ember in the Ashes a couple months ago when I went to the bookstore for a copy of The Crooked Kingdom, but instead left with a copy of An Ember in the Ashes. I picked up the book and read the back and was immediately intrigued. When I sat down to actually read it, I was so excited because it was like a breath of fresh air. Like I said, many different plots and tropes are so overdone when it comes to books, but Sabaa Tahir just executed a beautiful story that was so indescribably original, and I loved it. And after I read it, I rushed to TikTok to see any videos on it, and I barely found anything. Not many people know about An Ember in the Ashes, let alone are recommending it. And that just further showed me that BIPOC authors' voices are hidden in our bookish spaces, and we can't let that keep happening. I gave An Ember in the Ashes 4 stars. If you like military training schools and an epic FMC, read this book. And that's all the book recommendations I have for you guys today. But don't worry, I will be giving out more through the month. Thank you for watching the first episode of my podcast. I have been really excited about this for a long time, and I really can't wait to start talking about the things that need to be talked about. And I just really can't wait for this whole new journey that I have planned. If you guys have a second, I would really appreciate it if you go to the bio in my Instagram and fill out the feedback form. I love taking criticism. I love improving on myself, and I love bettering myself. So I would really love to know what you think I can improve on, any changes you think I should make, or any suggestions you have for the show, and I'll be more than willing to accept criticism. Before I wrap up today's episode, I just want you guys to ask yourself one question. Do you see the same faces every time you scroll on your feed? If so, are you doing anything to diversify your reading? If not, it's time to look past your feed and find and discover the voices that the public tries so hard to silence. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode. See you next week.